2 years, and I'm being brutally honest with you guys, I don't love talking about the Cowboys. Let's be real. We talk about them a lot, and they don't win any Super Bowls. It's like, what are we doing? They are America's team. This time, though, there's genuine smoke in Dallas. A story that just dropped here within the last couple hours on a website called Go Long. It's a football website. The author's Tyler Dunn. He's been on the herd before. He dropped a bit of a bombshell in Dallas that Mike McCarthy is fed up with Jerry Jones. And it has been a brutal offseason for the Cowboys. Listen, they are always the bridesmaid, never the bride, right? They've won 12 games the last 3 seasons, yet can't get to the conference championship game. They have 4 playoff wins this century, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? And now McCarthy hears his owner, Jerry Jones, say, we're all in. We are all in at the beginning of the offseason. And then the offseason happens, and it's crickets. They lose a couple offensive linemen, starters, lose Tony Pollard, and you look around for all the big moves, and it's like 1-year deal for this guy, 1-year deal here. Ezekiel Elliott's coming back as if that's going to excite anyone. And all of a sudden, McCarthy's looking around like, why don't you do more and say less, ownership? And McCarthy's in a bit of a position of power here because Jerry Jones in his 80s is at a bit of a breaking point. He's got Dak Prescott in a final year of his contract, McCarthy, final year of his deal. And when your coach is going through a writer to say he's fed up, Jerry, I think you got to do something. Now, there will be some people who see this and are, Jason, come on, you're making something out of nothing. This is not a nothing burger. I will, as someone who covered the media at a website back in the day, I'll say this. Go look at Tyler Dunn's history. He covered the Packers in Green Bay. You know who their coach was? It was McCarthy. So these two have had a long history together. This is not nothing. McCarthy is clearly ticked off. And I'm going to borrow a line from the great Top Gun. It almost feels like Jerry Jones his mouth is writing checks that his butt can't cash. And when you say we're going all in and you're not at all doing anything, that's a bit of a problem. Remember, Detroit Lions re-signed just about everybody. Detroit Lions added guys on defense. The Eagles added Saquon Barkley, who's going to revamp that offense. And you look around the NFC, everybody's getting better. I don't know that the Falcons are that good, but the Falcons are certainly better than they were a year ago. The Green Bay Packers, who destroyed you in a playoff game, suddenly they're lurking in the NFC as like a potential threat. The Bears got instrumentally better. And you look around the NFC and you're like, geez, is this the beginning of the end? And I got to wonder if I'm Jerry Jones and I look at that schedule, and we will have it on the screen here for you shortly, the Dallas Cowboys schedule, assuming McCarthy doesn't get a new deal, 5 of the first 7 opponents were playoff teams from last year. That game in Cleveland, they start 0-1, and I think they're narrow underdogs. I believe they could have flipped. That's a troubling game for Dallas. You start out 0-1, you could probably win the Saints game, but Ravens, that won't be a cakewalk. Lamar just coming off the MVP last year. Ravens are good. Giants, we know, are a dumpster fire. Steelers, but then Lions by 49ers. And now all of a sudden it's like, what are we? Are we a middling team? And the back end of the schedule does include the Eagles late in the season. Washington, are they on the come up? Game against the Texans. This is not a 12-win team this year. Yes, they're going to be favored in about 11, 12, maybe 13 games. But the Dallas Cowboys, when your coach is going out there through a media member he knows and saying he's fed up, that's a coach angling for a contract. In Dallas, more drama as we head into July here in the next week and camps begin to open, and a lot of questions swirling around those Cowboys. All right, let's pivot to USA Soccer. And folks, I want to start positive. Everybody watch Copa America Sunday. USA picks up the 2-0 victory, 2-0. Sorry for the soccer purists. I'll be positive here. I was at my daughter's volleyball tournament, so I'm watching the game. End up at the hotel bar with some dads. We're watching the game, and U.S. is largely dominating. They get the 2-0 win. They have some more chances, but at the end of the game, it was like, okay, good result. We'll take it. It's a win. But ultimately, I do have some problems. But let's start positive. 3 minutes in, Christian Pulisic, the best player on the U.S. Here's the goal.
Pulisic has it back now through the traffic. Pulisic, what a goal! What a start for the United States!
Spectacular. I don't know what's going on with the haircut there. Maybe Alex can clue us in later. Pulisic, he's got something, maybe a mullet growing. I don't know, but he's phenomenal. We know he's the best player in the U.S. Okay. So now I will, now that we said a lot of positive things, got congrats on the win, 2-0, you get the clean sheet. Ricardo Pepi coming off the bench, looking good. Pepi nearly scored twice. Didn't score, but nearly did. Okay, got that out of the way. So you guys, I've worked here at Fox for about 8 years. Yeah, 8 years this June 1. And, you know, you're in the building, you run into former soccer players, former GMs, coaches. I've expanded the Rolodex, shall we say. So my first thought after the win was, let me text somebody who was at the game, who's an accomplished college soccer player, knows the sport well, coaches it, blah, blah, blah. And I asked, like, hey, what's the read on it? We're like, okay, good result, but, and then there was a litany of problems that this guy saw and I didn't see. Now, listen, we're facing Bolivia, and Bolivia is terrible, one of the worst teams in the field here. We should have smashed them. This should have been a 5-0 blasting, and it could have been if the ball bounces another way. But you start to poke holes in the game, and in soccer, there's this stat that matters, advanced stat, expected goals, XG. And you look at that, and U.S. was just 2. That's it, against Bolivia. And you look at the possession, and yeah, they control possession, but they didn't dominate control of possession. And they didn't kind of build it up slowly and then strike. It looked like they were forcing the issue. We got to score. We got to impress everybody. And they kept failing. And I like this team a lot. I do believe the talent is there for them to make a run and kind of get to the Copa America semifinals. Finals would be amazing. It's a difficult field with a lot of very good teams. But the other problem is when you don't blow out the weakest opponent, you leave yourself vulnerable for what should happen, I don't know, at the end of the group stage. Uruguay, we know, is very good. That game will be difficult. Let's say they tie that game. They will now lose tiebreakers on goal differential because they didn't bury Bolivia. And then you've got a more difficult road in the knockout stages. And again, I know people are going to say, Jason, you're picking nits. We got the 2-0 win. Just settle down. But here's the problem. What got us here, all the good stuff that got us to this point, we still have a lot of room to improve if you want to dream of winning a Copa America, getting to a, World Cup final in 2026 on our home soil. This kind of performance ain't going to cut it. It's just not. I'm sorry. It's Bolivia. And I saw Alexi Lalas and the team, everybody graded out what they thought the U.S. did in this performance against Bolivia. And again, the average soccer fan who just watched the game or saw the highlights and the score, 2-0, good. Everybody on the staff here at Fox gave the U.S. a B or a B-. That's it against Bolivia. Now, Greg Berhalter, apologists, I've been one myself at times, will say, hey, they got the win, settle down, Panama's up next. Berhalter actually talked about that after the game.
It was important to win your first game. We talk about progressing our performance, improving our performance throughout the tournament. So I think it was a good starting point. And I think it's the intensity from the start was important. We know the performance was good, but it can improve. That's important. I think we can finish some more chances than we did today. But the most important thing for us now is just Panama. That's all it is. We focus on Panama. We get the group recovered, healthy. Game.
Yeah, he said healthy. And, if you blow out Bolivia and it's 4-0 with, 30 minutes left, you're able to rest guys. And then Gio Reyna doesn't have to get battered. I mean, listen, let's be real. Bolivia was angry that they were losing that game. They started taking some cheap shots. You want your stars out of there. You don't want Pulisic taking unnecessary hits. And again, I'm a big USA soccer fan. I like their chances. Obviously, they're going to beat Panama. But Panama's scrappy. They've given us problems in the past. And one thing someone brought up in our morning meeting that I missed this in the game yesterday, but the U.S. used to have a DNA of like scrappy underdog, plucky upstart. We're gonna fight and grind. And you didn't really see that grit and grind, if you will, from the U.S. You saw more of an attempt to be skilled. And I do like that. I applaud that they're trying to play like the Europeans, but they're just not there yet. And I don't know how much longer it's going to take. I'm hopeful. And the game against Uruguay, I believe it's July 1st. That's a massive one. You guys will have to tune in for that. I like our chances. I'm just, I'm being real, Alex. I'm not crushing the U.S. I like this performance. I didn't love it. It was like when you go to a restaurant and you're told, everybody tells you, oh, hey, you've got to get the filet. Medium rare. It's the best. Okay, I'll go. And then you have it and it's like, it was good. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't mind-blowing, but it was good.
This needed to be a statement win. for the U.S. Going into this, there was the talk of, as you just mentioned, like Bolivia's one of the lowest ranked teams. They should have gone, and this should have been the, like, we're here. Because the U.S. men's national team has had a lot of pressure on them for a handful of years, right? They haven't lived up to the expectations of what you mentioned, of what the USA of old used to be. It was tough because I was sitting down, we were watching it at a bar, and within the first 3 minutes, that goal happened. I was like, this is going to be a blowout. They're going to be great. This is what's going to happen. And then it was kind of halfway through, you're like, are they going to be able to finish on any of the balls? Are we going to get another goal? Are they going to be able to extend the lead? And there was like a little bit of concern because it wasn't as dominating and of a statement win as I think everybody expected this to be.
And to be honest, like, listen, England, if you've been watching the European Championship, they have not been dominant, and they're getting killed in the media across the pond. It's like, England, why are we not blowing these teams out? And this is the good spotlight, and we'll talk about that next with the WNBA, but like, this is the spotlight. This is what you want. You want people criticizing and